gentleman and a scholar who brings gravitas to every stage that he graces. I think he might be Bozeman's Michael Cera, okay? And like in Barbie, he's he's Alan, right? He's not just Ken. He's Alan. Kyle is an improviser, guitarist, and comedy songwriter from Bozeman. Kyle Sorsen, y'all, who has been performing in the community since 2015. First at the Verge Theater and now at Last Best Comedy, he is currently a cast member of Winging It and Notorious B.O.Z. He was recently awarded the very prestigious title of Last Best Comedy Prom King, and now self-identifies as a cool kid 20 years after having graduated from high school. Y'all, he's about to spin out on stage. Welcome Hanukkah Hunk, Kyle Sorensen.
Oh, that was a short musical interlude. More vibrators, everybody. Fun story, the first time I ever met Molly, or the first time I ever saw Molly, she was telling that exact same story on stage, so, and we're still friends. Telling the approximate story. She improved it. It was hilarious the first time, but I'm ruining it now.
Thanks, Alan.
All right, I'm moving on. It was Black Friday last Friday, obviously, and got me thinking about this time of year and how it's a time of gift giving and love and all that warm stuff, and also it's a time of rampant consumerism and mad rushes on department stores and retail outlets and people trampling each other to get the next big sale. And whenever, people go out of their minds for this kind of stuff, and whenever I hear that, I want to get all moral and go like, ooh, what's wrong with you? But I'm not one to talk. I've lost my mind a few times. What we don't think about a lot is that our environment shapes a lot of who we are, our environment and circumstances. So like when we're around people that we trust and people who accept us and make us feel belonging, we act completely differently and we think completely differently. So take me, I'm a good guy. Polite gentleman in Bozeman. But I lived in Los Angeles for a while, in the hellscape that is Los Angeles, getting taken advantage and manipulated, and that primed me to have a few, what you might call, out-of-character experiences. So this story takes place about 10 years ago. I was working in television, and I was not what you would call thriving. I was overworked, I was craving a social life. I had like all of these crummy employer experiences. Like one that really sticks out is I had one editor who told me, and this is a direct quote, that he would have me on the corner of Sunset and La Brea selling hot dogs to drag queens because I downloaded the wrong version of a song for a movie trailer that he was cutting. So I wasn't doing great, and I was kind of like repressing a lot of my emotions, pushing a lot of stuff down, and I kind of knew what I was doing, but I don't think I was aware the degree to which I was actually being like affected. There's a quote that goes like, "It's difficult to make a man understand something when his paycheck depends on him not understanding it." And that was kind of what had happened to me. I'd made this move to Los Angeles. I had committed to this whole new career path, and so I kind of felt like I needed to adapt to this new environment, and hopefully it would get better, but at least for now I needed to give it a try, and if that meant that I had to like completely shut down all of my emotions, then so be it. So on this particular day, I was filling up at a gas station in Burbank, a few blocks from my apartment at the time, and a white van pulled up behind me. And two relatively ordinary looking dudes got out and approached me. One of them says, "Hey man, want to buy a surround system?" And I was a little bit like, usually people don't. Usually people don't approach you in gas stations, so I was a little taken aback. I was like, what? And he's like, a surround system. Check it out. And he walked over to the back of the van. He opened the door, and there were about 20 boxes stacked with images of speakers on the outside. And I walked over, and I checked them out, and I was like, are there really surround systems in these? Skeptically. And he was like, yeah. And he opened one, and he showed me the speakers inside, and they looked real enough. So now that I had my wits about me, I took stock of the situation, and you'll be impressed. I recognize that this was not exactly a legitimate operation. There's some shady dealings afoot. But I was also checking out these guys, and they were not intimidating at all. Now, don't get me wrong, they could have beaten me up, for sure. But they were giving me, like, amateur vibes, like, they didn't seem particularly skilled or experienced, and they seemed kind of desperate. So that's when it occurred to me that this could be an opportunity. They might have stolen these. So, they're probably going to be open to negotiation. And so, there's a potential for a good deal here, some like a discounted rate. And I got kind of excited. So I did like a lightning round of the prices right in my head. Like, how much does a cheap surround system cost at Walmart? $300, $400. I don't know where I came up with those numbers, but that seemed about right. So I stared him in the face and I said, I'll give you $200. And all the while trying to suppress the excitement that was building up inside. And he pondered it for a moment, like he wanted more. He said, deal. And then the feeling that I had, it's like in poker when your card hits and you know you've got them. Felt like that. I felt powerful. I felt like I was in control. And if you'll recall, I hadn't been feeling that a lot recently. And it felt good. And there was this extra element of kind of like moral justice to it, like they were trying to scam me, so I was like scamming the scammers. So there was So this was like kind of like me doing a good deed, sort of. So but I didn't want to give away my emotions, so I stoically composed myself. I said, okay, but there's a problem. I don't have any cash on me, but there's a bank a few blocks away, and there's an ATM there. So if you can just follow me over there, I can get you your money. And I think maybe a little bit of me was also starting to get a little bit like my on a power trip, because I was kind of thinking if you're gonna try and scam a guy, like some sucker at a gas station, you motherfuckers are gonna have to do some grunt work for me. So they didn't particularly like the idea of this not being a quick thing, but they pondered it for a second. They're like, okay. So I hopped in my bright orange Pontiac Sunfire, and we drove down to the bank, and I went to the ATM, withdrew the money. Everything went as planned, but then I had one more thing that occurred to me that I wanted from them. So I walked over to them. The van was idling. The driver gets out. He's like, all right, man, let's do this. I pulled the brakes one more time. I'm like, hold on. There's another problem. I don't think one of those boxes is going to fit in my tiny little car. But don't worry, because I have my apartment's only a few blocks from here. So why don't we just you can take. Oh, is this embarrassing? I was still riding a bit of the full psycho. Yeah, I was still riding a bit of an ego trip. And honestly, I was thinking like, we've come this far. I'm gonna get some, free delivery out of this too. They were getting more upset, but it was fine. They had come this far, so they were like, okay, we'll do this. And so we drove. I guided them to my apartment. They took the box out of the back of the van and they carried it up to my second floor apartment. I kind of noticed they were more built than I had realized. They maybe worked out a little more than I gave them credit for. And we were in my apartment and they were more angry than they had been before. They were probably just tired of having like a 30-minute long black market transaction and hoping for a 30-second one. So I didn't want to tempt fate anymore. You'll be happy to know. So I gave them the money and they left. It was okay. I closed the door, breathed a sigh of relief. Still feeling pretty good about myself. I said, cool. And then I looked over at the box on the floor and had this kind of like sudden sinking feeling where I realized I don't want a surround system, and I've never wanted a surround system. Like, why did I just do that? And not only that, like the rest of like the reality of the situation started to like settle in. I was like, wait, did I just let two super shady like Harvey Davidson biker looking dudes like, to my apartment, strangers? And I'm like, what was it? What am I thinking? Like, am I crazy? And then I'm like, was that even a good deal? So I run over to the box and I rip open the box and I pull out the speaker and it's a Panaphonic, not a Panasonic. It has a PH. I'm like, what is this? They make fake brands? And so I'm like in a shame spiral. I run to Google, and I find out that this is actually something that is pretty widespread, like in Walmart parking lots and gas stations and back alleys all across the nation. This is happening. And I found a guy on Reddit who had bought the same system as me for $5,000. Actually, $2,000. And that made me feel a little better about my choices. And then I found another guy who had bought the same system as me for $50, and that made me feel a little worse. But at this point, I wasn't even sure if I should trust the thing. Like, it's a fake brand. Like, if I plug this in, is it gonna like light the outlet on fire? I don't know. But even more than that, at this point, like a feeling of disgust is starting to kind of grow inside of me because I'm not the person that I thought I was. Like you could say that they scammed me, but really, I scammed myself. Like all they had to do was show me like a glimpse of the world outside of like Law and Order. I just got full greed mode in a moment. So basically, it was like they had opened a window to a part of my soul that I didn't want to see, and so I wanted to just crawl into a dark hole and just not come out for 100 years or whatever. But unfortunately, I had an appointment with some friends, so I had to compose myself again. And I got in the car, I drove over there, and I had a little bit of time to think. And when I arrived, I did the first smart thing I'd done the whole afternoon, which is sold them the stereo for $400. It's a lie, I'm lying. No. I honestly at that point all I wanted to do was just like take what I had done and bury it in a field in the middle of nowhere and never think about it again. But I did the smarter thing, which is that I confessed to my friends and I told them everything I did. And, they rolled their eyes and they shook their heads. But then they smiled and they said, "Kyle, you're a moron." And gave me a hug.
Real friends.
So in this very scammy time of year, keep an eye out. Scams do happen. My sister got scammed, not in the same way a year ago, so it does happen. If you do end up getting swindled in some way or another, try not to take it personally because it happens to the best of us. And if anyone is looking for a surround system for their significant other,